everyone, and welcome back to the Museum Show and Tell Show. I am your host, Nicole, from the Penetanguishene Museum, and I'm here with Genevieve from Huronia Museum.
Hello.
And Jan from the Penetanguishene Museum as well. So today, Genevieve had challenged us to find something round or circular in our collection. So if you want to go first, we'll see what you brought us.
Okay, here I am out on the floor, so I am going to lift the computer and get my ugly mug out of the way. If you can see at the top there, possibly.
Oh, yes.
Oh, good one.
There is my thing that is round or circular. It's round, not circular. You can see, okay, I'm going to move over onto the side. And can you see it now? I can't tell what I'm doing.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, there we go. It's a diving helmet. These things are really amazing. When I look closely at it, especially when I see the back and see the input tubes, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's my diving helmet. So we do have a phenomenal photograph. This is a copy of it.
Oh, wow.
It's taken by J.W. Ball, my favorite photographer of all time. And this was possibly one of the Carsons. There were 3 Carsons that I know of who were divers. There was William Carson and Robert and Vern Carson, so 3 generations of Carsons. But you can see here he's got the diving helmet in his hand, or his assistant, I guess, has the diving helmet in his hand, and it actually clamped onto a kind of another brass corset or corselet, I think it was called. And so all the weight of the helmet would be distributed across the shoulders, the diver's shoulders. And I know that there were a number of, historically, there were a lot of diving wasn't a recreational activity, or it wasn't done for scientific purposes. Rather, it went hand in hand with a lot of other marine operations. For instance, we had a number of dredging and salvage and towing companies in the area, and they would often use divers in the salvage of wrecked or sunken ships. And this example here is actually Vern Carson, and what he was doing was working on a water supply inlet in Port McNicoll. So we frequently read about in different news items in the newspapers about a lot of work that was done on the shores of Midland and Penetang involved in water supplies. I know in the 1950s that there was an old well that was discovered along the shore while they were constructing the Canada nameplate factory. And so he had to find the inlet, I guess, out somewhere off the shore to see if the well was still viable. So this is a really old technology. It was invented in the 1820s.
Wow.
But it wasn't meant to be used originally by divers. It was actually supposed to be used by firemen, and it would keep it was used to keep them, I guess, safe when they'd go into a smoky building. That was about 1823, and then by about 1829, the 2 men who had invented it, 2 brothers in England, decided that maybe they could expand their horizons, I guess, and they thought it might be good to use in salvage operations in the water. This diving suit and the helmet was a really, really important piece of equipment, because it kept the waters, it kept the whole of the diver's head from the water, and it had a series of holes, or a series of windows, viewing windows on the sides and across the front. It allowed the diver to see clearly while underwater. It allowed him to breathe. And really importantly for salvage operations, it protected the diver's head when he was doing heavy or dangerous work. This one was made by a manufacturing company out of Montreal called John Date. He started manufacturing about 1876, so this one dates to about the late 19th century. We're not entirely sure, and we're not entirely sure who used this helmet, but it's a really interesting and important piece of technology for this area. So that is our round or circular item.
Good
That
one.
is neat. Yes.
It
At first
is.
I thought maybe you have another round artifact behind you right now.
Behind you,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
right. The ship's
That's what
wheel.
you're
This
going
is
to be
actually-
showing us. So
Oh, no. This is actually something that would have gone well with last week's challenge, the popular with children. Children like to turn it.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
yes. But no, the helmet's really neat, and it's great that you even have the photos to go with that. And you know, we all went, oh, J.W. Bald, because we're so grateful of how many photos he took of this area that we use today, you know, from Penetanguishene and Midland and the whole entire area. He was a wonderful photographer. So
He was. He captured so much of everyday life, not just in the studio photographs, but, you know,
Yeah.
he went lots of stuff along the harbors and a lot of industrial photography as well.
yes,
Really.
even knowing out what our old downtowns looked like, or he even went to some of the shops too to show what it looked like inside the stores on the main street. Yeah, he was.
yeah, they're priceless.
So
Yeah.
all right, Jan. So what do we have today to show?
All right. So what we have is a candle mold, which doesn't look very round, but we kind of met the parameters by tipping it this way. And that, of course, is where the wax would be poured in. And in the bottom here, you can see other holes, and that is where the wicking would be hanging out. So once the candle was molded and firm, this would then be inverted, and it would become a tapered candle. So, yeah. So light, of course, has been, I mean, it's been essential since the beginning of time. And, you know, of course, we know that fire was the main source for a very long time. But candle making goes back at least to the medieval ages and prior to that as well. And so for our settler time, this is initially they would probably use just the dipping method of dipping repeatedly and having the layers build up. But maybe if you had a little more money, you could afford a mold. So they were made in the households, usually around autumn, because you need the tallow from the slaughter of the animals. So you could use cow, you could use pig, but the best to use was sheep. Not everybody had a cow, for one thing, and pigs, the pig tallow smells really, really, really bad. So sheep was the preferred method of using. And like I said, the dipping was the first method to be used, and then to the molds. And some people could use beeswax, but that was only the very rich people that would be able to afford the beeswax. So again, the sheep was preferred, and then pig or cattle, and beeswax for the very rich. By 1850, paraffin was being produced from coal tar. And yeah, I didn't know that's where paraffin was actually produced from initially. And it became, well, by, like I said, the 1850s, you could commercially buy it, but still it wasn't very widespread, and probably still something that the richer people would be able to buy and maybe pay someone to make their candles for them. But for still a very long time, our settlers were making their own sources of light and making it, like I said, during the fall, usually when it was slaughter time. There is the phrase of gone to pot, which kind of dates back to candle making as well. We tend to think of things gone to pot because they're ruined or you can't use them anymore. And so when the candles became small enough that they were just tiny little stubs that you couldn't use anymore, they'd be tossed back into this pot and collected so they could be melted down to be reused to make a whole candle again. So yeah, So that's our round circular object for today.
It's circular in profile.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, that's neat. I love the idea that they, recycled, reused, everything back in the day.
Everything. Yep. Yep.
That's
Yeah.
all right. So, what is our challenge for next week, Jan?
So our challenge is we're heading into the Christmas season, the holiday season. So we're all thinking about maybe putting up our tree. So we're going to go with something tree related.
Not Christmas. Very nice. Okay, I'll see
We
what we
still got
got.
a whole month of December to do Christmas.
I know.
We'll start with just the tree.
Yeah, people are putting them up earlier this year. I've heard of a lot of people that already have them up. Everybody's anxious to celebrate this year. So yeah, we'll start early too.
Yeah. All right, sounds great. So I'll see everyone next week with our theme of finding something tree related. So bye.
Bye.